Alright, hello and welcome to a Path of Exile 2 video, the sort of first one on this channel. I made another one, but I wasn't really happy with it, so I took it down, but this one should suffice and be a little bit more interesting than the other one. So this is a character overview of the Tri-Attribute Stacker Invoker Monk I've been playing for the first, week and a bit now, over the POE2 early access. Yeah, I know, stat stacking, who would have guessed on this channel. Yeah, so basically it's using, offensively, Pillar of the Cage God and the Hand of Wisdom and Action unique in order to scale all three of our stats in order to gain AoE, weapon damage, percent flat damage, and a lot of attack speed. So offensively we're getting those things, and then defensively we're taking a bunch of evasion in order to make use of the Invoker Monk's Protect Me From Harm notable. That gives us an armor rating equal to our evasion rating, making it very powerful defensively as well. Those are the two concepts the whole build is based around, and I think the scaling is kind of actually insane. This is a very early version of it still on this character, but already it's doing extremely well. It's very fast. It does like full screen explosions and just like does crazy things with breach because of all the AoE scaling, and it's a lot of fun. Single target also, it's using some stuff that's probably gonna get nerfed, I'm not gonna lie. Basically we were using a cast on shock Eye of Winter setup for the single target, where you are shocking the bell and that triggers a bunch of Eye of Winters with cast on shock for whatever reason, and Eye of Winter just chains and just hits the bell like immediately, like a billion times, and you just do crazy single target. This interaction specifically, I'm pretty sure is going to get nerfed because it's pretty stupid, as you can see from some of the clips here. But I think the rest of the build probably is not in that dangerous of an area, at least given how this is just using a bunch of uniques as they're intended, basically. But yeah, let's jump into game, and I'll show you sort of exactly what's going on with the character. I've been having a lot of fun with it, so yeah, let's jump in. Alright, so here we are in game. I'm currently level 92, so yeah, a bit ways through. Hopefully gonna hit 93 here soon. So again, yes, the whole build is built around the Pillar of the Cage God weapon and the Hand of Wisdom in Action. So you can see that these two have a bunch of stat stacking things. So Hand of Wisdom in Action is like the core unique here that sort of enables this whole thing. I wouldn't use Pillar of the Cage God if you didn't have these gloves. They kind of work in tandem here. So these give you 3% attack speed per 25 dex, so 1 per 5, and then 1 to 10 flat lightning damage attacks per 10 int. And this is very important because the big downside with Pillar of the Cage God, obviously, is that it has basically no flat damage, making it pretty weak in most cases. However, since we're getting so much flat damage from scaling int with our gloves, that fixes that problem basically, and that makes this weapon pretty insane because it scales the AoE of the R attacks like a lot, and then also you're getting even more attack speed per dex, and then also we're getting a percent weapon damage to scale that flat. So it actually works really well as a combo here. Makes it so that everything goes kind of crazy. We're getting a lot of attack speed. Again, 2% attack speed per 5 dex on this, 3 per 25 here, and then there's the passive point over here which gives 1% attack speed per 15. So this combined gives, I believe, about 7% per 15 dex, which results in, on my character right now, I have what, 289 dex, so I have it like close to 300 across the board in my stats here. You give like a lot of attack speed. It's very fast, especially with like when you're dashing around like Shattering Palm in maps. It's like almost instant, the dashes, which is kind of funny. So that's pretty cool. So that's the offenses. It's really pretty powerful in that regard. Even like with this current set of gear where I basically only have attributes on my rings right now. Obviously in the end game you'd want, I mean in the very end game you'd probably want like Astral Mantis. That would be completely insane on this character, but that's also a little bit expensive. But yeah, you'd probably want attributes on like everything, and then this number would be even higher. So defensively, we're also getting some benefits from these because generally like stat stacking only really gets good, I think, in PoE 1 and 2 when they scale both the offenses and defenses. But as you can see, our defenses are pretty good here. So the character has 11,000 evasion right now, and then that gets converted into armor as well. So it functionally has 11,000 armor. This is with Wind Dancer up, of course. It'll have less when these charts are down, but Wind Dancer is pretty good. So yeah, 11,000 evasion, 11,000 armor. The hit pool is a little bit low right now. I only have 2,400 life and 400 ES. This is like just enough ES to make Ghost Runs worth it. This will go up when I get more strength and stuff, and I get better gear pieces. But yeah, for now this is like the main issue survivability wise, but otherwise it's pretty good. Also, my cold resistance capped. I haven't had much time playing with this exact setup, so I haven't had time to fix this. Fixing resist on this character is pretty tricky, but yeah, I'll get this fixed in a bit. And also I'd like some more chaos res, but yeah, these are things that'll come with time. Suffix pressure is a real thing on this build because again it's using 3 uniques, so all the different rare pieces have real high suffix pressure because we want both attributes and resists, and they want to cap the resist all on their own, know? So it's a bit tricky, but I'm trying it out. But yeah, so defensively, we're stacking evasion, right? Because Invoker Monk has this one node, protect me from harm. I think this node is like really powerful. The wording here is a little bit odd, but basically what it does is it cuts your evasion rating by 40%, but then gives the armor rating equal to your evasion rating. So that is how I'm getting all this PDR. It's pretty nice. 11k armor is quite a lot in this game, I feel like, and it makes everything feel very smooth. So that is very cool. Also, of course, getting Spirit from the Lead Me Through Grace. And then there's other Sunny-wise, getting the Inquisitor node just for damage. And then I'm the Blizzard is quite nice because getting that extra cold damage lets you freeze the Bell. And the Bell is like all our single target, so being able to freeze it is very nice because obviously we don't have any cold damage naturally because Pillar of the Cage Guard has no flat cold on it. It has no flat anything pretty much. So all of our flat is the lightning damage from the gloves. So we need cold from somewhere, and this node gives us a bit of that, and it's pretty nice. So that is part of the defenses. How are we stacking evasion, you might ask, given that I have basically no evasion nodes. I have these nodes right here, and then these give a little bit of evasion with the chest, but that is obviously not enough to get like 11,000. 11,000 is quite a bit. We're using the Timeless Jewels. Timeless Jewels exist in this game. I believe these are dropped from the Uber Expedition boss, I believe, Heroic Strategy. So they work pretty much exactly like most of the Timeless Jewels in POE1. So they have a person they're dedicated to, and that determines which keystone they get when put in radius of. And then they also change the notables in radius. So you can see these are slightly changed to other things. You can see this one, you're changed to lightning damage and plus strength, which is quite nice. But what they do is they change the inherent bonuses of stats. So there are 3 named ones you can get for the keystone. I forget the name of the other 2, but they each change their own stats. There's one for dex, one for strength, and one for int. The dex one changes the inherent bonus of dexterity to armor instead of accuracy, which is pretty good. And the strength one, I believe, changes the inherent bonus of strength from life to % ES, which is also pretty good if you want to do like ES stuff. There's actually an option for this character if I were to want to go that way. But this one I'm using here, Allroth, changes the intelligence bonus. This changes the inherent bonus of intelligence to give us a 1% increased evasion rating per 2 intelligence instead of plus mana. So that is very powerful because, again, we want to stack evasion with this character in order to get a bunch of PDR. So this is actually very, very strong. Very happy I was able to pick one of these up pretty early before they skyrocketed. I don't know what price these are going to land on, but yeah, it's a very powerful combo with this character because obviously we don't stack evasion anyway, and intelligence is like one of the biggest stats to stack with this character because intelligence gives us both AoE, flat damage, and now evasion. So it just doubles down on the intelligence be really good. That's why I have more intelligence than anything right now. Especially these stats. Whenever these stats go up, the character's just going to go wild. But yeah, so that is the defensive scaling, giving us a bunch of evasion rating. And evasion in this game is like very powerful because monster hits no longer have a distinction between spell hits and attack hits. They're all just hits, so you can evade all of them. Obviously, the things you can't evade are like slams, big boss abilities, stuff like that, ground effects, unless you're taking acrobatics. Which is like over here, which I'm not taking because I don't think I have enough evasion for that right now. But yeah, you can evade everything else. So evasion, I think, is very powerful, as I think anyone who's tried a high evasion build in POE2 right now can attest to. It feels really good. So it's really nice being able to stack that together with this node. Makes Invoker really powerful. Now, you might wonder why not Gemling, since Gemling is like the stat stacking sort of ascendancy. Like part of it is definitely made for that. And yeah, Gemling is really good. I'm going to preface this by saying that a lot of this build came from the Russian streamer I'm Just a Crazy. I saw him do something similar to this, and I just thought it looked really cool, so I wanted to adapt it, and he is playing a Gemling. So history is a little bit different. I don't think he's from what I've seen, maybe he's not doing this, but I'm not sure. But yeah, so credits due. This is not like my idea or anything really. I just adapted the tree to fit the Invoker. But yeah, so Gemling is really good. It has the node where the inherent bonuses of stats get doubled, which is really nice, especially since this actually does work with the Gemling ability to double the inherent bonuses. So this would make it so that the Gemling would get 2% evasion, for example, per 2 int, so that's very powerful. The thing is, Gemling, I feel like that's like the only real good notable, but also they have like % attributes on their travel node, I believe, on the Ascendancy, so it's a good choice. Honestly, I just had an Invoker leveled, and I just wanted to try it, and I think honestly there's an argument to be made for Invoker. I think they're both pretty similar, because I think genuinely this Protect Me From Harm node is like very, very good, and then also you get the nice little bit of damage and extra Spirit, because Spirit is kind of tricky on this build eventually in the end game, because you want to use like all uniques, because right now I'm using a rare chest and amulet, but I believe in the end game you'd want these two to be unique, and those uniques don't have any Spirit on them, so it is really nice getting some Spirit from this. So yeah, it's just I think it's a good fit, but Gemling also would be good if you want to do that. So yeah, that's the general idea. It is pretty nice. As for the rest of the passive tree, you can sort of see what's going on here. Just doing general pathing, taking this mana nodes, because mana is an actual issue, so I'm taking these 3 nodes here and this notable. So far this has been pretty good. I might need to do a little bit more work on it. Single target, I'm definitely ooming, but I think that might be more because of the wacky interactions with the single target setup. But yeah, so that is the mana, and then basically just pathing, basically just through to a bunch of attributes. So first of all, pathing down here to polymathy, this is like one of the best nodes on a tree for this character, obviously. 10% increased attributes is really, really strong. So I have to take that. And then this node's also really good, Jack of all trades, since we are scaling all of them pretty much equally. This gives a lot of extra damage. And then just a bunch of travel nodes. You want like all the attribute travel nodes pretty much to be strengthened in. Those are like the best ones. Dex is obviously good, but gives you generally a bit less when traveling. So yeah, then just taking good like crit nodes. These are just high value crit nodes. These I'm taking because again the timeless node made this give 40% increased damage, which is pretty good on this POE2 tree, and obviously 15 flat strength is good. And then crit nodes here, crit nodes there. I'm taking these core F nodes because they're pretty solid, but I probably don't actually need to take this, but it is kind of nice. Lightning nodes are good, and then right now I'm taking the evasion stuff. This might be dropped because eventually there's a unique chest that gives present attributes. That one does not have as much evasion. I think eventually the goal is probably to get that and swap this out, and then I'd probably drop all these nodes and maybe get a little squishier, but I think it'll be fine. And then here we have some more crit nodes. I'm taking resonance because that is how I'm generating power charges, with resonance converting the frenzy charges into power charges, and then using combat frenzy, which is a buff that makes it so that whenever you freeze things you get a frenzy charge. So that makes it so that whenever you freeze things you get a power charge. And we are freezing with Shattering Palm, where you dash to an enemy and puts like a debuff on them, and then when you damage them enough, the debuff pops and makes like a shattering explosion, freezing stuff around it. So when clearing, you get freezes all the time, and this is always triggering. And then single target, you are freezing the bell very reliably. So as long as you put the first bell down, you are getting a freeze, and that'll give you a charge. So this is, for now, my preferred way of generating power charges. There are a bunch of ways, but this one I think works really well and is worth the 2 passive points right now at least. Otherwise, yeah, going up here for the int node, I would also take this node if I get a level here. This actually is 8 flat int is surprisingly good on this character. Now for jewels, this is actually how I'm solving resists right now. So again, as I said, resists are really tricky on this character because resist already is pretty tricky to get kept, but then also we have 3 of our gear slots here tied to uniques, so those can't really have any resists on them outside of runes. So I just need really a bunch of resists. So I'm using these grand spectrums. These also do exist in the game right now. They give 4% all res per socketed one, so if you have 3 of them, you get, what, 32 auras. It's pretty good. It helps to relieve our suffix pressure quite a bit, so I have 3 of those. One there, and I believe one like down here. These are unfortunately quite expensive now. They're going up quite a bit since I got them, but yeah, they're helping quite a bit. Eventually, you would probably get the unique chest that gives you % attributes. You can have it give auras as well, which is pretty good. That would help a lot. But yeah, so that is currently how I'm doing that. Otherwise, for jewels, I have 1 rage on hit 1, which is... not very good, but it gives them cold res and has rage on it. Not an amazing jewel, but it is something. And then, yeah, I'm using the timeless jewel, obviously, and then I have 1 jewel, which is actually kind of a nice one. This gives a lot of life on kill and mana on kill. It's actually pretty good for mapping, and especially for like breach and stuff like that. It's actually quite a nice jewel. I crafted this myself somehow. I don't know how I managed that, but yeah, that's pretty nice. So there's the passive tree. Yeah, pretty straightforward. I mean, it looks like sort of an abomination, but it is probably optimal for this. And yeah, it's been pretty good. As for the gear pieces, I quickly went over it. We're using Black Sun's crest for the helmet, because obviously we're stacking all 3 attributes, so those % increases there are kind of nuts. Yeah, it's very nice. Also, it's very cheap unique, so getting like a decent corruption like the second socket here is pretty easy to get, and it doesn't cost that much, even on a well-rolled thing like this. This was like a 15x, I believe, so it's really not that bad. And then breach rings, and then just random rares with a bunch of res, and as many attributes as you can get. Obviously, the Giga endgame version would have Astromantis and the unique chest, which I don't remember the name of, and then like probably the ritual belt to scale these to infinity, and that would be crazy. But yeah, that's like a lot of exalts, and I don't have those right now. But yeah, this character like scales so far. Like even right now, you see like this is the clear skill, and like you see AU and attack speed here. Yeah, I think the scaling potential for this setup is like kind of wild actually. It's like way higher than anything I was doing before, and it feels very good. So let's go over the skills a little bit here. So yeah, we're using Storming for clear. This is linked to Upheaval, Inspiration to lower the mana cost. So Upheaval is kind of interesting. It basically gives the LMP effect to it. This is what's making it do 3 instead of 1. Because yeah, this is actually a skill that makes fissures. It's kind of hidden when you're looking at the support channels for the skill. Like it doesn't really show up as a supporter skill. You have to really dig in order to find this. But yeah, it does work, even though it doesn't even say fissure on it, right? No, it doesn't say it. So it's kind of sneaky that way, but it does actually work. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really nice to clear. Obviously, this has a big less damage penalty. Like you can see, our DPS like basically halves from it. But yeah, it's worth it for the clear, I think. And we have plenty of damage already. You know, with just this setup, the damage is kind of nuts. So yeah, it's pretty good. Inspiration, cosmetic costs are a thing. And then I'm doing martial tempo and primal armaments. Yeah, then 6 length. I don't know what I put. Some damaging thing. I'm currently swapping gems around. So for the single target, obviously we're doing Tempest Flurry and the Bell. So for the single target, if there's like a big boss, I just put inspiration and martial tempo into Tempest Flurry. But I just don't think I have enough support right now to put other good stuff into Tempest Flurry, and I'm basically never using this while mapping anyway, so I'm just doing the gem swap for like any pinnacle boss or anything like that, and it's been fine. The auras using Wind Dancer, Ghost Dance, and Cast on Shock. So Wind Dancer, Ghost Dance is just like a classic defensive combo there. They both work really well together. Wind Dancer gives you a more multiplier per stage, and you gain stages periodically. And yeah, it gives you 18% more evasion per stage. It's like really powerful. When you get hit, those stages get consumed, and all the enemies get knocked back. So currently I have it linked to Pin. It's kind of a nice combo, because when they hit you and they get knocked back, they get pinned to the ground and sort of stuck, which is kind of nice. It can get you out of tough situations if you get like chain stunned or whatever. It's kind of cool to have. And then I put Meme on there because, I mean, why not? It's just like random supports. I put Call on there. I don't think this is ever triggered, but I gotta put something in there. So yeah, that's the Wind Dancer. And for the Ghost Shrouds, this works pretty much just like in POE1. Gives you Ghost Shrouds periodically, and then when you hit, they get consumed and you recover energy shield equal to 5% of your evasion. Currently for me, that is 500-ish energy shield per Ghost Shroud, and that's obviously more than the energy shield pool, so it's pretty good. Eventually, if I end up changing the chest around, I probably will have to drop Ghost Dance, but it is really nice for sure. I would like to have a bit more energy shield on the character, but it's fine. And that is linked to fast forward in order to get them faster. And then obviously also running Clarity, because mana is a thing, and I have spare spirits, so that is cool. Single target, as I mentioned, Tempest Flurry is the way to trigger a bunch of bell hits, because it hits very fast. You put the bell down, and then you Tempest Flurry into it, and that works really well. Currently I have Close Combat, Lightning Mastery, and Crescendo in there, and then as I mentioned, I swap in Inspiration and Martial Tempo in there. You can do some other stuff. You can put Conk Effect in here if you really want to. That works. You can put other stuff, and that's fine. But yeah, really good. I only use this. This is only a single target thing. You don't really use it for clear, but it is good for that. Crescendo is like probably the weakest of the supports here, because it's the slam at the end there. You see there's like Impulse from this guy. That's the last one you get. I think on average this is like 11% more damage or something like that. I like Napkin mathed it out earlier. So it's, you know, it's okay, but it is conditional on that you have to finish a full combo. Of course, that is a bit easier now that this attack speed is kind of nuts, but yeah. Also, the Crescendo, I believe the final strike of the Crescendo doesn't actually trigger Charge Staff. It doesn't give you an actual beam from Charge Staff, which might make this a bit worse than, you know, something else, but, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, then Charge Staff, this is up all the time, and this is the way we are spending our power charges. So this is linked to Perpetual Charge. You don't really need Perpetual Charge, honestly, but I think it's kind of nice. It just makes mapping smoother and stuff. Doesn't always use up a charge. And then I just put Persistence, Innervate, and Conduction on there. You can put more damaging stuff in here. That does do a fair bit of damage, but for now, I like the setup. I think Innervate is pretty good on it, actually. This is basically up all the time while mapping, which is pretty cool. Combat Frenzy, as I mentioned, is just the way we are generating power charges. I just have random auras in here because I have Spirit to spare right now. So I just put like Herbalism and Vitality in here. These don't really do too much. I mean, Herbalism is nice, to be fair. Vitality, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It really isn't that much regen, but yeah, it is what it is. Shattering Palm, now this is pretty good. So Shattering Palm is the movement skill, sort of choice. It dashes to an enemy and then puts these shards on them, and then when you deal damage to the enemies with the shards, they shatter and do like a big AoE ice explosion. So this scales really crazily with AoE. So we have a lot of AoE because we are scaling intelligence, obviously, and we get 2% AoE per 5 intelligence. So just naturally, our AoE is really large, which is why you can see our people is like crazy like this. But Shattering Palm is really, really good with AoE. Actually scales like kind of crazily because all the AoE start overlapping and it's almost like quadratically, like you start doing some crazy AoE explosions because like one of these ice shard explosions are like screen wide now with all these AoE, and then they all overlap. So if there's like a rare surrounded by like 3 mobs and you shatter all the 3 mobs, that rare just gets popped. This is like insane for Breach, as you saw in some of the clips. Like Breaches, you're just wiping things constantly, and it's pretty cool. Just dashing from mob to mob and just wiping whole screens. It feels really fun. I really like doing Breach on this character. So yeah, scaling AoE with this ability is kind of crazy. Also, because of all the attack speed from these 2 items, the dashes are like really, really fast, so it feels really good to dash between packs and stuff, even especially in like open maps where there aren't a lot of like tight corners, stuff like that. Indoors, when there's like doorways and pebbles you can walk up to, like dashes are kind of they're a little awkward in this game because there's so much you can get stuck on. But in open areas like this, the ability feels amazing, and I would not remove it for the world, I don't think. So again, I have more AoE on this thing. There are multiple things you can put more AoE on. You can actually put it on a Storm Wave, which is kind of funny. only with this build because that just makes it massive, but I think it's better on Shattering Palm. So more AoE on that. I put Ice Bite on here, which is pretty good. Ice Bite is pretty much up all the time on mapping. It's kind of nice, just gives you more cold damage. Cold Mastery and Momentum on there. I think Momentum works with that, with the dash skills. I'm not entirely sure. Like it specifies on the gem that it doesn't work with the teleporting, and dashing does look like it's teleporting, but then it's like, it is recommended as a support gem when you're using an uncut support gem on the skill, so I assume it does work with dashing, but who knows? Maybe it doesn't, and I'm just wasting a slot, but yeah, that's what I'm running right now. I mentioned Ghost Dance already, and then Tempest Bell is like the main single target thing. Tempest Bell is really good. I'm thinking something's probably going to be done with this, because at least with the Eye of Winter interactions, basically Tempest Bell lets you double dip on attack speed for a single target. So what happens is you put the bell down and then you hit the bell, and the bell makes like an AoE wave, and that wave does quite a bit of damage. And then the bell gets a more multiply per ailment you're putting on it, which is pretty nice. And right now we're putting a Chill, Shock, and Freeze, I believe, on the bell. And the bell has like pretty low ailments threshold, so it's pretty easy to put ailments on it as long as you're doing the respective damage types. So yeah, those three I'm definitely doing. There might be some ways to squeeze in more. If I could squeeze in some more ailments to hit on the bell, that would do a lot more damage. So that's pretty cool. You could look at the shockwave right here. We are getting 30% more damage per element. So if I can get like Ignite on there or something, like a source of fire damage, that'd be quite cool. Or like electrocution or anything, that could be neat. So maybe I'll look into that. I might be able to put electrocutes into the charge staff, actually. That might be worth. I might try that. But yeah, so the Tempest Bell is linked to Overabundance. This gives +1 to limits and then less skill effect duration. So this isn't really used to stack up multiples. I mean, you could do that. I think having multiple bells is probably pretty nuts. But generally, I'm just using this so that when you have this on, when you put one down, it starts charging combo for the second one while you're still hitting the first one. So basically, it lets you chain them. And then I'm putting Conk Effect on here because, again, this is something we're only using for a single target. So Conk Effect's AoE is not really that big of a deal. It's basically going to be put under the boss all the time anyway, so it's fine. Scaling the damage of this it gets kind of wild. So yeah, then I'll put Rage and Rage Force. This combo works pretty nicely. So Rage support on this is pretty nice because it hits a lot. And then Rage Force, it doesn't usually trigger on the first bell because you're not gonna have any rage, but then the second bell and third bell, etc., you're always gonna have enough rage. So I think it's actually quite good. But yeah, there's actually quite a few supports you can put in the bell, but right now I'm running this and it's fine. It's pretty good. And then I'm using Cast on Shock. So this is the one way I'm using all the spirit I'm getting from the Invoker. This is kind of nuts. I think this interaction here is going to change. You saw the clip at the start of me killing that breach boss. Eye of Winter and the bell is like insane. Eye of Winter is a spell that shoots out a bunch of small projectile shards, and it just does like 20 hits per spell or something like that. As you can imagine, with the Tempest Bell, that is a pretty insane combo. And there's also some interaction with the bell where I think you're just shocking it constantly, and that just makes Cast on Shock proc like all the time. So yeah, using Eye of Winter with Chain on Cast on Shock just makes it go like super crazy on single target, and you're basically just popping bells instantly. It doesn't look right, and it's probably getting nerfed. Up until it does, I'm gonna use it because it's pretty good. But yeah, so Cast on Shock, Eye of Winter, and Chain. This just makes single target go crazy. I'm using Cast on Shock because I tried Cast on Crit. Cast on Crit is like, it just procs too much. I tried it out and yeah, it's good, but yeah, it procs way too much. Because the main reason originally I wanted to use Eye of Winter is because it puts crit weakness on the target when it hits them. So it's a debuff that basically gives you more base crit to your character. If you're using that with Cast on Crit, it created this ramping effect where once the enemy started having crit weakness and you're critting like most of your hits, the Cast on Crit will just proc over and over again and your mana will just instantly drain. So, that is, yeah, that was a little bit too rough. Cast on Shock is like a little bit better in that regard, but even Cast on Shock, yeah, there's something happening with the bell. I think it's a little bit wacky single target. There's some wacky stuff in POE2 right now, but all I'm gonna say is it works really well with the bell and single target. So yeah, it's cool. I'm putting infinite on here. I don't think this is actually necessary. I'm probably going to remove it, actually. It might just fuck my man up. But yeah, that's currently the Cast on Shock setup. I think it works pretty well. In theory, you could maybe do like Cast on Shock, like Sniper's Mark or something. That could be kind of cool, but not sure how that would feel for mapping. But yeah, that would maybe be a way to generate power charges as well. But yeah, those are the skills and the character. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I think it's a very, very solid shell. I don't know how much of this is going to get nerfed. The power levels of a lot of things in POE2 right now is kind of wacky. This feels very good. Very, very good. Hopefully, it's just the bell interactions that get touched and maybe not the rest of it. But I think like since it's just using these uniques the way they're intended, right? think is all right. Either way, I've really been enjoying playing with it, and obviously the scaling potential is through the roof. Like I don't have that many stats right now, and the character's already kind of going crazy. So I think once I start getting a bit more attributes, the character is just going to explode. So that's very fun. But yeah, I'll keep the channel here posted with how characters are going and any changes to the build or anything like that. I've really been enjoying playing with it, and yeah, it's my type of build. Let's say the sort of big sky high scaling builds are very fun. So. Yeah, as the current character, hopefully you enjoyed. I'll be back later with more videos and we'll do more stuff. I've really been enjoying POE2, by the way, if you're curious. Yeah, great game. Some issues, it's a little bit buggy, and the balancing is a little bit all over the place, but it's early access. I think that's genuinely a fine excuse for that stuff, and I think the framework here for what the game is like fantastic. Like, I really like the Atlas system. I think especially once the Atlas gets like expanded with like more League mechanics and stuff a bit further in, it'll be like really awesome. It needs some search functions and like stuff like that, maybe putting down bookmarks or like waypoints to where you can jump between. That'd be nice. But I think I really like the general framework here. I think, yeah, and the combat feels great. WSD movement is great. Being able to attack while moving is like amazing. Yeah, campaign was super fun. All the bosses are really cool, even though right now this character like trivializes them because you just like one-shot them, which is sad, but hopefully that'll maybe get addressed a little bit, and then, yeah, but I really like it. So yeah, POE2 cool. I'll keep playing it. I'll be live on Twitch most days, streaming this. I'll keep grinding levels and just doing maps and stuff and currency, and yeah, I don't know, it's a good time. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll be back in the next one.